I promised myself that if this moment ever came, I would choose my child. And then it did. My son came to me 9 years ago and told me that he was gay. And in that moment, something inside me just split into two. On one side, everything I had ever been taught. On the other, my child. I realized that loving him fully was going to require me to question parts of my faith that I had never questioned before. You see, I was raised in a very structured Christian environment. There were clear beliefs, clear lines, and clear answers about identity and sexuality and what was acceptable. And honestly, I never really questioned it. Because when you grow up inside something, it doesn't feel like a belief. It feels like truth. There was comfort in having clear answers. It gave me safety, structure, identity. That was until motherhood made it personal. Because when theology is abstract, it's easy to hold tightly to it. But when your child stands in front of you, asking to be fully seen, it stops being abstract and it becomes your child. I remember the day he told me. I got in my car and drove to the beach because I didn't want him to see me cry. I didn't want him to think I was disappointed in him. It was pouring rain outside. And I was sitting there alone, gripping the steering wheel, crying out to God. And I was scared out of my mind. And I remember thinking, something has to be wrong with what I have been taught. A God of love, a God that I've served all my life, would not reject my son. And then the spiral started. What else isn't true? Have I been living a lie all these years? I don't even know how to describe the feeling. Honestly, it wasn't rebellion. It wasn't anger. It was panic. I was panicking. Like the ground under my entire identity just shattered. I felt like I was losing everything all at once. My faith, my community, the framework that I built my life on. And I was alone in that car in the rain thinking, I'm about to lose God too. But what I understand now is this. It wasn't God that I was losing. It was the comfort of being sure. And those are not the same thing. This wasn't easy. I was terrified. I was terrified of being wrong. I was terrified of being judged. I was terrified of being labeled. And I was terrified that loving my son the way that he deserved might cost me everything I had built my identity on. But I had to ask myself a question I never thought I would ask. If my belief system cannot hold unconditional love for my child, is it truly aligned with the heart of God? That question shattered me because it was then that I realized something hard. I had been taught to cling to being right, but not always how to lead with compassion. And I could not choose the comfort of being sure over my son. So I chose him. I chose love, even if it meant rebuilding everything I thought made me faithful. I chose love. I chose to love him without trying to change him. I chose to affirm him. I chose to protect him. And in doing that, my old foundation cracked. But here's what I discovered. It wasn't my faith that shattered. It was fear. Fear disguised as righteousness. Fear disguised as tradition. Fear disguised as being right. And when the dust settled, God was still there. God didn't leave when the comfort of being sure did. What came after the shattering wasn't chaos. It was reconstruction. I rebuilt a foundation rooted in love instead of fear. A faith that expands instead of contracting. A God big enough to hold my son exactly as he is. Sometimes I think about the version of me that was sitting in that car in the pouring rain, and I think she was scared. She felt alone. She thought everything was collapsing. And honestly, she just needed someone to hug her and say, it's going to be okay. Because she didn't know it yet, that choosing her son wouldn't cost her God. She didn't know it yet, that love was about to deepen her faith, not destroy it. She didn't know that the panic was grief. And grief is what happens when the comfort of being sure dies. If you are that woman right now, sitting in your own version of that car, crying, completely terrified and questioning everything, let me tell you, it's going to be okay. You are not losing God. You are not failing. You are learning how to love without fear. And that is sacred.